Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Tea from the Galaxy, a thirst-quenching podcast for the girls, gays, theys, and astrology baes, where we talk about anything and everything through an astrological lens. So today I am here to talk about the April 2026 astrological horoscope. We have to talk about this one. This is an extremely fiery month. It is a month full of a lot of new beginnings, but also equally a lot of last, a lot of cycles ending, a lot of putting things to rest in order for a new start to begin. And this isn't just any new start. This new start is like off with the races. It's giving very much Aries energy. There's going to be 6 planets in Aries under this new moon in Aries that's happening later in the month, which is crazy having 6 planets in Aries, but a lot of planets are going to be in Aries this month. It is a lot of first, Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It's the go-getter, it's impulsive, it's fiery, it's aggressive, it's motivated, it's confident, but it's also childish, selfish, acting without thinking first, explosions, fights, wars. It's giving mixed bag. Okay, it's not super great, but it's not super terrible, but it's kind of super scary. When I look at the horoscope for this month, I'm like, scary. Let's just get into it. I don't want to fearmonger. I kind of want to give a breakdown and explain this energy first. This month is giving, oh, I have just walked into a new cycle. I have just walked into a new era. I have just walked into a new chapter of life. Aries is ruled by the ram, moving head first, an explosive new beginning. When I think of Aries energy, I think of like a match being lit. Let's just get into it, okay? On April 1st, right off with a bang, full moon in Libra at 12 degrees. So a full moon is a culmination of events, of things that were started around the new moon since 6 months prior. So I always like to reflect on what was happening in my life 6 months ago to kind of see what kind of themes are coming up now during this full moon, what kind of things are going to be coming towards you, what's really blossoming and blooming and growing now moving forward. Can you find any patterns, or maybe if you find something that was happening in your life 6 months ago and it's still a theme in your life now under this full moon, to me, that is a sign from the universe. Like, this is something that I really need to focus on, that I need to nurture, that I need to water. And there's a reason that this is, in a cycle of my life. So the new moon in Libra happened on October 21st, 2025 at 28 degrees. So definitely think of what was happening around the 3rd week of October of 2025 to see if you can find any correlations. If you started anything around that time, you can definitely start to see things, coming into making forward momentum and coming into fruition now, especially because Aries season is coming up. The spring equinox just happened. This is the time where any seeds that we planted is really going to start blossoming and growing rapidly. I notice 2 similarities between this new moon in Libra that happened in October and this full moon in Libra that's happening on April 1st. They both were squaring Jupiter in Cancer. So the new moon in Libra back in October was happening at 28 degrees and it was squaring Jupiter in Cancer at 24 degrees. And it's interesting because now with this full moon in Libra, because Jupiter was retrograde and just stationed direct, even though this full moon in Libra is at 12 degrees, it's still making a square to Jupiter in Cancer because Jupiter is only at 15 degrees. So to me, it just seems like there is some type of learning lesson. There's some type of karmic lesson, some type of universal lesson that is in the main focus here, or that we're just not getting, we're just not learning. A theme under the new moon in Libra was new moons are a time of new beginnings and planting seeds. And especially in a sign like Libra, Libra is a relational sign. It rules relationships and harmony and peace and beauty and really bringing that into your life. So I remember back then I was saying this is a good time of manifesting new love into your life, and love in any type of way, romantic, platonic, any type of harmonious relationship. Like, what does a harmonious relationship look to you? This is a good time to manifest that into your life. Like, everyone is deserving of healthy relationships. But I also noted that sometimes in order for you to find your tribe, you have to either ride solo or leave your current situation or people who aren't pouring into you how you're pouring into them. If you're in a one-sided relationship, it might have been time to kind of choose yourself and really find your own people. And that has been a huge thing since the Libra Aries eclipse cycle that started back in like 2023. And because of all these outer planets that are moving into Aries, that are now in Aries, Saturn and Neptune, I've been making a prediction for years now that this learning lesson of the balance between you versus me, my needs versus the needs of other people, being selfish but also keeping the peace, making myself happy, and making those around me happy, and how do we balance being selfish but also being there for people. So this has been a huge theme since 2023. I feel like a lot of people are struggling with it, especially now that Saturn is in Aries and will be until 2028. There's some type of karmic lesson for the collective surrounding choosing ourselves, but also needing to balance. How do we balance constantly choosing ourselves and putting ourselves first, but also like maintaining a sense of community? I think a lot of people are having a lot of relationship problems. A square to Jupiter shows problems with greed, problems with doing too much, being too cocky, overly doing it with your emotions, not being able to contain your emotions. A square to Jupiter isn't the worst because Jupiter is a nice planet, but it does lean toward problems with greed, problems with just like doing too much, like going overboard. This is a big lesson of greed. Just feel like that is a big thing. I think a lot of learning lessons surrounding relationships has been a theme the past 6 months, especially too. And I think that is going to be illuminated under this full moon. Full moons, when you think about it, a full moon in the sky is an illumination, right? It illuminates us here on Earth. That is exactly what a full moon does. It illuminates things that have been hidden, things that need to be confronted. But like what I said, a square to Jupiter isn't always the worst thing. It could just be like a sense of you're feeling really good, so you're spending a lot of money. I would just say be careful with overindulgence, overconsumption, doing too much, and that type of thing. This full moon in Libra does make an opposition to Saturn in Aries, although it's kind of loose because Saturn is in 5 degrees, so it's definitely a loose opposition. It's kind of far away, but it's still there. So to me, that is still like putting an emphasis on needing to find the balance, like what I've been saying, like this lack of getting it, this lack of like, it's just not clicking to you, babe. It's just not clicking to you. Like, and I feel like it's not going to for a lot of people for a while. I think as long as Saturn is in Aries until 2028, there's some type of karmic lesson for the collective of relationships, and trying to find the balance in relationships is just not, it's not clicking to a lot of people. I think it's going to bring a lot of relationship problems. That's that on that. I don't think it's the worst type of full moon, but I definitely think it's going to illuminate any type of imbalances within your relationships. Where have you been unhappy? And that's going to be illuminated. What kind of needs do you need in your relationships? It's going to be illuminated. Keep things noted. What's happening under this full moon. What type of things are enlightening you under this full moon, especially in regards to your relationships and where you feel there's a lack of balance in your life. On the 3rd, Mercury in Pisces trines Jupiter in Cancer at 15 degrees. So I do like this energy better. This is really good romantic energy, creative energy. It's between 2 water signs. It's fertile energy. Mercury in Pisces is not in its best standing. Mercury is a planet of communication. Pisces is like, living in a la land. So anytime the planet of communication, which is very detail oriented, let's talk about it, let's get down to the nitty gritty, is in a sign like Pisces, that's like, let's just flow in the ocean and relax. Mercury's like, I'm losing my train of thought. And Pisces is like, yeah, but just like paint it, write a song about it, like paint it out, like, sit on it, relax. So that's why Mercury isn't in really good standings, but with the trine to Jupiter, it does support the creative, the fluidity, the romantic energy that Mercury and Pisces does bring. So it does enhance that, and it does lift that up. So especially because Mercury and Jupiter are both now direct. So think of a time, what was happening around February 16th and what was happening around March 9th, because these are 2 other dates that Mercury and Pisces were also trining Jupiter in Cancer. So, conversations could have been had, thoughts, ideas could have been brought up around mid-February and the beginning of March. And now that both planets are in direct motion, things are any type of idea, especially in like the creative or romantic or dating type of route, you could really start to see like forward motion happening, or things are just coming together. No more Mercury retrograde. Spring equinox is here. Aries season is here. I think things are really going to start really moving forward in a really nice way, especially like what I said in the creative field. This is really good energy for creativity, for dating, for going out on a date, pouring your emotions into a creative outlet as well. On the same day though, Venus in Taurus squares Pluto in Aquarius. So this is contradicting energy because a Venus square Pluto aspect is really fucking harsh. Venus is the planet of love and relationships, and Pluto is the planet of transformation and death and rebirth and burning everything to ground so we could build up and create anew. I really think that if any relationship problems came about from this full moon in Libra, and it's really triggering some wounds, you're in a dark place. Venus also rules things of money too. So even in a dark place with money too, like you're really struggling with money, you're just like, really, Pluto will really bring you down to the depths of hell, unfortunately. A way to deal with this and a good supporting energy, which helps balance this energy out, thankfully, is the Pisces trine Jupiter aspect. So whatever you're feeling, really transmute your emotions into some type of creative project. And I really, really do believe that this will help you transmute that energy. But there's always a warning when there's a Venus square Pluto aspect, because Pluto also rules things of like manipulation, control, power, abuse, stuff like that, especially in relational. So I always just like to give the warning of be careful of who you're surrounding yourself with, be careful of who you're getting close with, be careful of jumping into a relationship at this time too with someone that you don't really know, because this could look like, things feel very romantic, but little do you know there's some type of power dynamic happening that you're not seeing right now. That if there's like, you're wearing rose-colored glasses, it's easy to do that while Mercury is in Pisces, kind of wearing that rose-colored glasses, kind of we're seeing or we're hearing things how we want to, because there's a veil in front of our eyes. But little do you know, this person actually doesn't have the best intentions for you. So although things feel romantic, it's a nice time to date. Will I jump into a relationship and put a title on something with someone right away? Will I jump into a business partnership right away? Would I even sign a contract at this time that's involved another person? No, I wouldn't. Because I really don't like that Venus square Pluto aspect. It shows some type of dynamic that I don't really like. It shows some type of power imbalance and an abuse of power too that I'm not really fucking with. So that's my hot take on that. On the 5th, the Sun in Aries squares Jupiter in Cancer at 16 degrees. So the Sun represents us, our identity, our egos, and a square to Jupiter just shows a sense of doing too much. That's usually what it is. When there's a square to Jupiter, it's you're doing too much. You're being too overly cocky, you're overly confident, you're overly too sure, you're overly putting too much on your plate, you're overly spending money, you're being too greedy, you're being too indulgent. This energy does bring it can bring good emotions. Like it brings oh, I'm feeling myself, But with the square versus a trine to Jupiter is when there's a trine to Jupiter, it's flowing. You're in alignment. With the square to Jupiter, it to me feels like be careful of your actions by being too cocky, especially with the Sun in Aries too. Aries is a cocky energy already. It's like, I want to do it, I'm gonna go about it, and fuck what you think, and I'm gonna do it right now, and I'm gonna do it how I want to do it. So that is just my warning with that. I think also, another part of that is be careful of how your actions are affecting or hurting other people. That is a big thing that I see from the squares between Aries and Cancer. On the 9th and until May 18th, Mars enters Aries. So Mars is the planet of our motivation. It's what motivates us. It's the fire underneath us. Why do we act the way that we do? It also rules our sexual desires as well. When Mars is in Aries, it feels at home there. Mars loves being in Aries. That is where Mars thrives, because Aries is a fire sign. It's all about go-getter and action. Mars is all about action. Let's get it done now. Let's go about it. It's super fiery. It's aggressive. I think this energy is really good for starting new projects, getting shit done, and not only starting new things and getting it done, but feeling confident about it. There's a trusting within yourself that you can accomplish everything that you want to accomplish. That is a side about Aries that I love and that I always look up to. Anyone who has Aries in the chart is very Aries dominated in their chart. They have this sense of innate knowing. It's like a lot of the times they're impulsive, but only some of the times do their impulsivity land them in bad situations. It's like they're impulsive because they get this innate feeling. It's a feeling that comes out through their body. It's like they feel this feeling within their body, and then that's how they know. It's animalistic. It's like that's how they know that they need to go after something or not go after something or defend about something too. And that's kind of the energy while Mars is in Aries. It's like if we feel very passionate about something, we're going to go after it, and we're going to go after it with a lot of confidence. But there's the warning of be careful of being impulsive and doing something without really thinking about it, or being too aggressive where turning people off. That's also a thing that could happen too while Mars is in Aries. The collective is just feeling more aggressive at this time, and it could rub people the wrong way. It's like having a whole bunch of alpha males in a room together. They end up fighting because too many chefs in the kitchen, something's going to get burnt. You know what I mean? That's kind of the energy that's happening when there's a lot that's happening. People are meant to butt heads. Have you ever seen like rams like ram into each other with their head? They headbutt each other. That is Mars and Aries energy. So as much as it gives confident and go-getter and really going after our goals, it gives we might be fighting for our spot, and we might be fighting people or getting into fights with people in order to reach the top. Sometimes that's what it takes. The Aries is like, nah, fuck you. I'm gonna actually step on you to get to where I need to be. I don't care if you like me or not. Also, another thing with Mars and Aries too, find that this is a really nice time to start just like a new workout routine. Focus with the mind-body connection, because as a collective, we're just going to be feeling very fiery. We're going to be feeling like what motivates us is our own selfish motivations. And with that comes a lot of fiery, passionate emotions, and a good outlet to have during this time is some type of physical outlet to get those emotions out. On the 13th, Mars meets up with Neptune in Aries at 2 degrees. So this is very interesting because when we think of Mars is in Aries, very fiery. It's literally like a ball of fire. And then we think of Neptune. Neptune is like a fog. So what happens when heat meets a fog? It evaporates. So Mars heats up Neptune's fog and evaporates it. In turn, brings a lot of clarity in a very direct way. If a lot of people have been feeling very lost, confused, in a daze, feeling like they're in a delusion, been feeling like directionless, a lack of clarity, I think Mars meeting up with Neptune is going to bring a lot of clarity. It's gonna evaporate that fog. I think that's gonna be very helpful for a lot of people, but this is also gonna be in a very direct way, because Mars in Aries does not move like how it does when Mars is in Libra or Mars is in Pisces or something like that. Mars is in Aries is very much hello, I'm here. Like someone like banging on the door like yeah, what's up? It's going to be aggressive changes, aggressive things that bring a lot of clarity. People, especially I feel like if you have early degrees like 0 to 5, 6 degrees of the cardinal placements, Aries, Libra, Cancer, and Capricorn. I think this is going to resonate very heavy for you guys. If you've been stuck in a fog and a daze in, just feeling lost or confused, you're going to start finding that light at the end of the tunnel, that light in the fog. But I think there's going to be a price. It's going to be like, oh, and I'm here. Oh, and that's the direction I need to go in. And I think a lot of people, especially the cardinals, are going to experience that mid-month this month. The next day on the 14th, Mercury, the planet of communication, moves into Aries and will be there until May 2nd. So now all the planets are starting to move into Aries. We're seeing it. Saturn, Neptune, Sun is there. Mars just entered. Mercury is now there as well. So from what went from being a very romantic, creative, little passive, possibly type of head in the clouds ways of thinking and communicating and being, is now moving into a very aggressive, fuck you, this is what I want to do type of mentality and conversations. And I think this is another moving point in where I said that Mars and Aries is you might have to step on some toes to accomplish what you want. This is the backbone to that energy as well. It's like the fuel to the fire, because now not only are we acting in an aggressive way, but we're thinking and we're talking in an aggressive way. And I think because it goes back and forth, because we're talking and thinking in an aggressive way, it then creates a lot of aggression, fights, arguments. As someone who has a Mercury in a fire sign, I like when Mercury's in fire signs. I can really appreciate a directness. And that is what we are going to be getting right now. If you don't like that energy, if you don't like, brutal honesty, bluntness, people saying things how it is, people talking in an aggressive manner, you are not going to like this month. I'm telling you. Being from the Northeast, New York and Jersey, I'm used to this energy. If New York was a sign, I think it is Aries, New York City. And this month reminds me of New York City, just with the aggressive nature and going after what you need to go after and not giving a fuck about what anybody thinks about it or has to say about you. That is that. But I do find a lot of verbal altercations happening when Mercury is in Aries, and a lot of physical altercations happening while Mars is in Aries. So I am gonna give that warning, especially mid-month around this new moon in Aries too. 6 planets in Aries is crazy. We will get into that. Because Chiron, which is also an asteroid, is in Aries too. So that's what's happening. On the 16th, the sun joins Chiron in Aries at 26 degrees. So this is noteworthy because this only happens once a year when the sun meets up with Chiron. But it's been happening once a year since 2018 because Chiron has been in Aries since 2018. This will be the last time that the sun meets up with Chiron in Aries in our lifetimes, because next year in April, Chiron moves into Taurus. What does this mean? I think this is a really nice time to look back on the past 8 years. Every time the sun met up with Chiron in Aries, every single year, what did that look like? I think it's nice to track the growth. I think it's nice to see the learning lessons, because this is one of the things from this month's astrology that I said at the beginning of this episode, that there's a lot of very noteworthy endings happening that's going to be a catalyst for a lot of new beginnings and a really direct new beginnings. And this is one of the noteworthy endings, the finalized of a chapter. Chiron is an asteroid that represents our deep-rooted subconscious wounds. It is known as the wounded healer. And I like talking and working with Chiron because it is a domino effect of healing. Once you heal this wound that you have within yourself, and a lot of the times it's subconscious, you heal other people because other people view you as an inspiration for healing that wound, and it causes a domino effect of them wanting to heal themselves because you healed yourself. Chiron and Aries for the collective brought some type of identity crisis, identity wound. It depends where Aries is in your chart. So like, for example, if you're an Aries rising, this definitely brought, since 2018, a lot of identity crisis and identity wounds. Me, I'm a Scorpio rising. Aries rules my 6th house. It brought a lot of subconscious wounds of how I show up in the workplace. You know, believing in myself to work in a place and not to settle to work in a shitty place. And me finding confidence in a place of work. And me coming face to face with health issues and forming a new identity because I took on a different lifestyle and a way of living and a health and fitness lifestyle, because the 6th house rules things of health and fitness, your day job, your daily lifestyle. If you are a Libra rising since 2018, you could have gone through a lot of relationship wounds. Why do you put yourself in relationships with people who do not treat you good? Why are you constantly in relationships that fail? And it's not even just romantic, it's any type of close personal relationship, business relationship, romantic, platonic, your best friends. A lot of loss in one-on-one relationships, and it forced you to confront a lot of subconscious relationship wounds that you had. Those are like the types of things that could have been happening since 2018. So if it's a piece of advice that I'm giving, it's to, if you have a journal, look back to every Aries season, and specifically when the sun was meeting up with Chiron, and can you find any patterns of what was happening in your life, and do you see growth within that? And if not, this is, the universe is kind of asking you, this is a last time wrap up, you know, to really sit and reflect on how you show up in this area of your life, and confronting any identity subconscious wounds that you have that you need to heal so you could move forward. It's giving last crash out before I transcend. Like, that's the energy that it gives. But you know, Aries is also the sister sign of Libra. Libra is all about relationships. So there's a lot of subconscious wounds of how am I showing up in this area of my life, and how is it affecting not just me, but how is it affecting other people? How are other people affecting how I show up in this way of life, in this area of life? On the same day, Mercury meets up with Neptune in Aries. This brings a lot of fights and disagreements and verbal altercations off of stupid shit. Or off of disagreements and not agreeing or being on the same page of things of having to do with spirituality, religion, things that aren't real, things of the afterlife. You know, not saying that spirituality, religion, afterlife, spirits, like stuff like that, I'm not saying that those aren't real. I think they are real. But things that aren't tangible, that's what Neptune rules. I think there's going to be a lot of arguments surrounding those things, disagreements, altercations, or /and just stupid ass fucking arguments. Like, Aries just like to be fighting sometimes. They fight and they get angry, but just as fast as they get angry, as fast as they get over it. So I think could just be a light of a match, and then it goes out over something stupid. So definitely just be careful of, you know, saying the wrong thing in the heat of a moment of a stupid fight. Especially because the next day is the new moon in Aries at 27 degrees. So emotions are going to be heightened. Anytime there's a new or full moon, emotions are heightened. New moon is supposed to be a very introspective time, a time where we're turning inward and really reevaluating and focusing on the types of seeds that we want to plant in the area of the life that Aries rules in your birth chart. Being that there's 6 planets in Aries, the moon, the sun, Mercury, Mars, Neptune, and Saturn, 6 planets plus Chiron, so 6 planets plus an asteroid. Scary! You know, watching other horoscopes and talking with other astrologers or looking into the predictions of other astrologers in the community, I do see that people and other astrologers have been predicting some type of war, some type of war outbreak. I know earlier in the year, I feel like people were saying they think it's going to be some type of like COVID 2.0 type of lockdown. I don't believe that's what this is. I just don't. I think an outbreak of a war. I can definitely see. Aries is explosive energy, but it's explosive, like fiery energy, you know? I can see a fire happening. I can see an explosion happening. Thing that's going to be. I wouldn't be surprised if a war breaks out. If a war starts, or there's like something like that, missiles flying, things exploding, war breaking out, fighting happening. I wouldn't be surprised if something that is started around this new moon, there's something in that regard that's being started around this new moon. And then 6 months later in the full moon, that's when we see this war really break out. And that's when we see an explosion of a lot. Because like what I said, new moons are a time of like introspection. It's turning inward. Full moons are like the illumination. It's the craziness. It's the crazy energies, the heightened emotion. I wouldn't be surprised if something is started around this new moon that the collective isn't aware of. I'm talking on a societal level. I can see something being happened behind closed doors that the people are not aware of, and then something breaking out 6 months later. Like what I said, too many alpha males in a room and shit getting feisty and just fighting over stupid shit. That's what I see happening. I see fighting over stupid shit, implementing stupid shit because of stupid shit, and then it ends up hurting a lot of people, and a lot of people end up being collateral damage. That is my prediction, and I can definitely see the collateral damage actually we seeing the outcome of this in 6 months. But on a personal level, having 6 planets in Chiron and Aries under a new moon, I think is fucking crazy. I would stay inside personally. I would stay inside and really kind of be like, okay, this is what I to set my intentions for, you know. I think it's good. I think it's actually a good fucking new moon to make a vision board. I'm not even gonna hold you. I really like this energy to really like sit in your lonesome. Aries, like, we tend to think like Aries is a very independent sign, and a life lesson for Aries too is going through times in your life where you're alone, and that is just the flip side of being a very independent person, and also being very stubborn of doing things how you want to do things. Because of that, you will find yourself in periods where you are alone. And also, people with heavy Aries influence in their chart need to be alone, so they can come back to themselves and be like, all right, yeah, this is how I want to do it. Or no, this is the vision in my head and I have to do it like this. So I just have to be alone so I can just do it like this. And then I will enjoy the fruits of my labor with people in a later time. That is a big Aries thing. Aries, the first sign of the zodiac. I think it's a really good time to make a vision board and see what type of things you want to aggressively go after and bring into your life with confidence and optimism and go-getter energy. I really like that, actually. For a lunation where I would go out and be around a lot of people or in crowds of people or in groups of people, I don't like that energy. I think there's too much too many heavy hitters happening, too much explosive energy happening in the air, that I don't really like that energy of being outside. And I'm not even saying to fearmonger. I mean, life is life. You're going to do what you have to do. But I'm just being real. I don't like it for being on the road. I don't like it. I think there's aggressive driving that's happening. Another thing, this new moon in Aries is making a loose out of sign square to Pluto and Aquarius, which is another reason that I'm like, oh, this is like bringing destructive role change. Low-key. It is out of signs. Aries and Pluto doesn't make an in sign square, but because this new moon is happening at 27 degrees of Aries and Pluto is at like 4 or 5 degrees of Aquarius, it does make a square, but it's kind of loose. So it's kind of far away, but it's still kind of close at the same time. It's a square too. Not really fucking with that. That's giving destructive world, generational, societal change. Yeah. I think that's another reason that maybe people were predicting that this is going to be like a COVID type of thing. But I don't think it's going to be a shutdown. I think it's going to be the complete opposite. I think actually people are going to fucking start going crazy after this new moon in Aries, truly. There's too much fiery energy for us to be locked again inside. On the 19th, Mars touches Saturn in Aries at 7 degrees. So also on the same day that the sun moves into Taurus, Taurus season starts. So a Mars conjunct Saturn aspect is probably one of the most annoying aspects. Mars is go-getter, is action-oriented. Saturn is like, no, you need to take your time. Mars is like, I want to do this fucking now. Saturn is like, no, you have to do this and this first. And if not, I'm going to give you karmic lessons. So you realize that you have to do this and this first, because patience is key, babe. Saturn is that strict parent that is like, you know, wants you to be home at night and doing your homework and studying so you can get into a good college. So when the two planets' energies are together, it's giving, like I always say, it's giving like trying to run in quicksand. We're just trying to do something and we're running into a lot of obstacles, frustration, lessons. So that could definitely be the vibe. The third week of April, I can feel it being very frustrating, especially because we're, you know, starting off this month with a bang and feeling confident and going after our goals and, you know, feeling like this sense of clarity and wanting to start new things. And then, you know, Mars runs into Saturn and is like, actually slow it down a bit. But I will say it is a pit stop. Saturn is not all bad. Saturn is a planet of karma as well. So if there is an obstacle being thrown at you, if there is some type of pit stop, if there is some type of thing that's slowing you down, really look at it from a bird's eye view and view it as, why is this happening for me, not why is it happening to me type of energy. Because there's a reason that curveball is being thrown at you, and it's because the universe does want you to slow down in a way. Like maybe there is something that you're overlooking, or there is something that you're being a little too cocky about, and something that you need to slow down on or rethink or reconsider. On the 20th, Mercury then touches Saturn as well. So Mars and Mercury are in this little, you know, conga dance line, heading all the planets in Aries. Let it be known as well, while Mercury and Mars are together, they're dancing side by side, going through Aries right now. You know, this is bringing a lot of verbal altercations, heightened emotions, fights, you know, so especially in Aries, it's very fiery. A downside of Mercury in Aries is foot and mouth syndrome. Oh my God. Every Mercury in Aries person I know, they just speak because they just need to say what's on their mind. It's giving ADD, okay? It's giving unmedicated ADD, ADHD, okay? It's just needing to say what's on your mind and do whatever thought you're fixated on in the moment, and you're not really thinking about anything else but what you're thinking about in that moment. So I think it's because of that, it's going to bring a lot of verbal altercation. So I will give you that warning. And I think maybe Saturn is kind of a blessing in disguise, and it's kind of like, see, look what you did now, because now you're doing too much. Now you're being too cocky. Now you're being too slick with your mouth. And look what happened. Now fuck around and find out. So I think that is like literally the energy that's happening. So if Saturn is throwing you a curveball and telling you to slow down, really say thank you, Saturn, because I needed that rude awakening. On the 23rd, Venus touches Uranus in Taurus at 29 degrees. This is another one last time aspect, wrap up aspect. This is the last time Venus will be touching Uranus and Taurus in our lifetimes. Uranus has also been in Taurus since 2018. So this is a final wrap up. It's at 29 degrees, guys. This is the last degree of the zodiac until Uranus moves into Gemini. So there is some type of wrap up. This is like a one last curveball in the area of your life that rules Taurus in your astrological birth chart. And a Venus touching Uranus aspect brings an unexpected meeting, but also an unexpected breakup, an unexpected separation, or a feeling of needing of freedom and independence in your relationships. I can definitely see that happening. You know, seems to be a lot of relationship problems happening this month. Starting off with that full moon in Libra. I can see then this Venus touching Uranus in Taurus is kind of like, you know what? I don't need this. I want to be single. Like I can't be controlled any longer. I need to find my independence. I need to breathe. I need to do things differently. And then the next day, Venus moves into Gemini. So, fun, flirty, social, okay? I'm a little biased because I have a Venus in Gemini and I love that aspect, even though a lot of people be hating. But Venus and Gemini is so fun and flirty, okay? So I'm definitely seeing like, fuck this relationship, fuck being tied down. And it doesn't even have to be romantic. It can be like, fuck this friend group, fuck them telling me what to do, fuck this relationship with my boss. I'm sick of being told what to do. I just want to do what I want to do, especially with all this Aries energy in the air too. I definitely feel like this is a big collective feel at the end of the month. And then that's like the wrap up of Uranus and Taurus, like definitely reflect on what roller coaster of an experience you had in the area of your life that Taurus ruled in your chart, because that was one hell of a roller coaster, and it felt really hard because in Taurus likes stability and being really stuck and grounded somewhere, and Uranus is the complete opposite energy of that. So this was not an easy transit for anybody, but I think it brought a lot of learning lessons for us. And then Uranus is going to move into Gemini 2 days later, and it's going to start a completely new cycle until 2033. But I will say, I think Uranus moving into Gemini is going to be a little bit and feel a little bit more smoother than how it felt in Taurus. Yeah, this is like a new cycle, guys. But the day before, on the 24th, Venus moves into Gemini and is going to be there until May 18th. So this is a time where we're definitely going to feel a little bit more social, outgoing, wanting to connect with friends, build a really solid friend group, maybe going to a lot of like events or doing a lot of like activities and hobbies, especially with people like friends. You will benefit single people by dating like you are trying to find a friend first and then finding romantic love. That is like a really big thing that Venus and Gemini people really prioritize and love. They love a friends to lovers trope, okay? This could be a time where you're falling in love with your friends too. But if you are looking for love, my piece of advice, singles, is look for a friends to lovers trope type of energy. If you're going in and you're just like trying to woo with romantic dates, and I mean, we all love romantic dates, but like while Venus is in Gemini, if you're just bringing like romance or money or like something like that to the table, that is not enough to keep it stimulated at this time. Like you need to be bringing like stimulated conversations and really connecting mentally and intellectually. That is what's really going to be important while Venus is in Gemini right now too. And also you might benefit from playing the field. You might benefit from having a roster. That is okay. Venus and Gemini people do like that. I'm not saying we're cheaters. I'm just saying that when you're single and you're playing the field, like really play the fucking field and then see, because you learn a lot about yourself through that too. You learn what you like about someone, you learn what you don't like about someone, and then you go out and you find your perfect someone. So that is a big thing. For those who are in relationships, this could be feeling like a really fun time right now too. You will benefit from doing fun dates together, but quality time, but like really like being present with each other, not just sitting next to each other and watching a movie, like really face to face, having some really deep intellectual conversations and connecting mentally. Like how Gemini is deep like that, Gemini is also very witty and lighthearted and childish too, that having like a fun day where you do something fun and stupid is equally nice as well. Like what I said, on the 25th until the year 2033, Uranus moves into Gemini. That is a whole other completely different video, whole other separate conversation. This will be a whole different video if I literally talk about Uranus and Gemini, but definitely look at where Gemini rules in your chart. Uranus is the planet of unexpected events. It is a roller coaster. It's revolutionary. It's innovative. It's outside of the box thinking. It's doing things differently. So wherever area Gemini rules in your chart, that is the energy that's going to be brought into that area of your life. And on the same day, the Sun in Taurus squares Pluto in Aquarius. So this is another thing that feels very revolutionary to me too. Very once in a lifetime type of new beginning, like simultaneously like extreme ending to new beginning pipeline. because you're an outer planet is moving into Gemini, and then the sun, which represents us and our identities, is making a harsh aspect to Pluto, which rules transformation and death and rebirth. There's some type of growing pains happening here, some type of destruction, heavy energy, really walking into a new era of life. But like what I said, a lot of growing pains. Also on the next day, Mercury in Aries squares Jupiter in Cancer at 18 degrees, another tense aspect. I think a lot of growing pains happening here, a lot of like me versus you, me versus them type of energy. I gotta do what I gotta do, and it's hurting other people's feelings, and it's fucking with my luck, but I gotta do. This is also an energy that's like pressure makes diamonds. So if you're feeling a lot of pressure this month, just know, really follow your gut. It's you're creating diamonds, but really be careful on who you're stepping on. Like, like this is also energy of like, don't bite off the hand that feeds you. Lastly, on the 28th, Venus in Gemini trines Pluto in Aquarius, but also squares the North Node in Pisces. So I think there's a lot of transformative energies surrounding relationships and money, but you're going to feel like there is some type of energy pull from where you're meant to go. So it's kind of like you might feel like maybe you might meet someone and it's very transformative, but you were on a path of like maybe moving somewhere, or you were on the path of doing something and doing something else, or maybe focusing on yourself, and then you meet someone or some type of career opportunity pops up for you and you're like, fuck, like what am I choosing right now? Like this feels life-changing, but I feel like it's pulling me in different directions. Or something could happen to you where your higher self is creating pressure, is coming down with your present self and creating pressure. That's all that I have for you guys. That is the April 2026 horoscope. You guys, remember, be careful with how you're speaking this month. I feel like there's going to be a lot of aggressive talking, but sometimes, we need to hear the direct truth, but just be careful of the feelings that you're hurting, how the actions might be affecting your future and other people. That is a downside to Aries energy. They don't think too much into that because they're so focused on the present moment. But I do like this energy for new beginnings, for really confidently going after certain goals, and yeah, planting seeds of like the new beginnings. I feel like this is the astrological new year. Yeah, guys, thank you so much for listening or watching, and I will see you guys in the next episode.